Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to our show. We have gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the multiverse, two of the nerdiest geeks to be found. We proudly present the professor and her geeky girl miss herself, Ace. And now it's time. GeekyKOOL presents Professor and Ace.
Hey everybody, Happy New Year out there. This is episode 34 of GeekyKOOL presents The Professor and
I
Ace.
know. Wow. I can't believe we've been doing it. We missed so many weeks. It could be like up to 40 if it wasn't for me.
It could be, but we're going to get back. So,
congratulations, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Keith. Mr. Keith down below joins us from Pop Culture Minefield. We're glad to have you, sir. Always happy to have you here with us. So today, wanted to talk a little geek and talk about what's been going on. But one of the first things we want to hit is Wonder Woman 1984 that was released Christmas Day. Before we do that, though, wanted to bring some sad news for those that have not heard. Actress Tanya Roberts passed away, age 65. Walking her dog and all suddenly got back home and had to be rushed to the hospital. Don't know all the details, but we're sad to hear that. Known for lots of different roles, including off Charlie's Angels, Sheena, the Queen of the Jungle. We've got Midge, that 70s show. She was also in the first Beastmaster movie. So she was in a ton of stuff that geeks would know. Depending on your age, may depend on where you first met her at, but... Yeah, me too. I remember her from Charlie's Angels, and then of course anything after that, I always made sure to check her out. So
my mom wouldn't let me watch Charlie's Angels. I don't know why. I think she just. I don't know if it was just because we didn't get the channel or what, but I do remember her from Beastmaster, of course,
yeah.
and then Sheena. I loved Sheena when I was a kid. It was just really cool to have girl Beastmaster and
right.
But yeah. Now I look back at them and they're so funny. But
yeah, they're pretty cheesy. They're definitely that 80s cheese and bad action. She was also a Bond girl, by the way. A View to a Kill. So she's known for a lot of different things. So we will miss her. Sad to hear that she passed away at a very young age of 65. That age is getting younger and younger every day. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they don't know. It's because we're not getting younger and younger every day.
That's weird. You're 25. What are you talking about?
Right?
Do you remember when you thought 30 was old?
Yes. Yes. Logan's Run, baby. Everybody should be killed at 30. Oh my gosh.
And now you're like, I'm like, oh, if only I was 30 again.
Exactly. If I could be old at 30 again, that'd be great. Anyway, so let's get on, and we do sadly remember Tanya Roberts, but let's move on to Wonder Woman 1984, because this movie came out. It's grossed $100 million now at the box office internationally, because it's being released in a lot of other countries where people are going to the theater. The United States still is pretty low on the amount, but winning box offices here.
Well, comparative to other movies that have been released or tried to be released since COVID hit, it's doing pretty good.
It is. It's doing really well in now.
But that's compared to very little movies.
Right.
Didn't have the hype, so yeah.
Compared to Bill and Ted's, which I dearly loved, it's done a lot better. So yeah. Yeah. So guys,
HBO Max.
And so did I.
I really wanted to go to the movies. I've been wanting to go to the movies, but then I got not feeling good, and my boss had COVID and everything.
Yeah, not really the time to go to the movie theater then.
Oh, wait. Shmoo, just breaking news.
Yes.
People.com reported that Tanya Roberts is still alive.
What?
They said that she's hospitalized, but she is alive. And thank you to D for bringing that to my attention. Said he's got conflicting reports on it, so I went looking for it, and sure enough.
Wow. All right.
So,
well,
yeah. I mean, it's saying that she's still hospitalized and that she's not doing good. But as of today, that's today's news from People.
Well,
it says that she's still alive. So I don't know.
I'll have to retract the story I put on Geeky Cool. So
that
very
is from
good.
1 hour ago.
1 hour ago.
All right. Well, let's hope she pulls out of this, and we can fully retract this and make this a non-story about her passing. So,
well, I mean, it's hard enough dealing with the loss of Dawn Wells.
Yeah.
So,
and that's very true. She's passed away since we last got together. For those that don't know, Mary Ann from Gilligan's Island, along with several other roles she's played. But
she also has a connection to Columbia, Missouri. So,
yes. Just to confirm, I have Spoo over here looking up everything, and TMZ, People, Time, all of them are confirming that was a prejudgment of her death. She is not dead.
Well, good.
Premature. So there we go.
So I guess her husband made a statement, or her rep took it the wrong way or something like that. And so.
Well, we are glad to hear that.
Yeah.
It's good news.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but sorry to interrupt our Wonder Woman talk, but I just thought that.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to bring up here. That's because we just talked about her passing, and then here we are. She hasn't. So
it's a miracle.
That's good. It is. She was just mostly dead.
I'm not dead yet.
Just a flesh wound. Yeah.
I swear, you guys, this is my life. Do you hear him in the background?
Oh yeah. That's kind of what my wife goes through also. So yeah, I get that. So
it's
yeah.
When you're with a nerdy, geeky guy who just loves movies and quotes things, and yeah, that's my life. That's my life. Okay, so let's get back to Wonder Woman, 1984.
Let's talk about Wonder Woman. Yes.
So everybody's seen it, right? We've all seen it.
I've seen it. Keith, you saw? I've seen it twice, so I wanted to go back and rewatch it a second time, catch some of the things that I'd missed. So what do you guys think?
Ladies first.
Okay, so I was a huge fan of number one. It was the Wonder Woman I wanted.
Right.
This one I really liked, but not as much. Spoo liked it more.
Yeah,
well, he likes parts of it.
I like the end.
He likes the end. But I think, there was some cheesy factor. There was some continuity issues.
I'll just say that I like the fact that this is the first superhero movie where there's not some huge climactic battle. Instead, the superhero talks the bad guy into being a better person.
One of the bad guys.
The movie is a mess.
One of the bad guys, because she had the big ending fight with Cheetah.
Yeah,
she had the big ending fight with Cheetah, but Max Lord, she just convinces him to be a better person.
Right.
But and if you haven't watched it, sorry, we're spoiling.
There will be spoilers here, guys. You've had long enough to watch it.
Right.
Come back and watch this when you're done if you haven't.
I did think it felt like 80s. Though, sometimes when you're watching movies and they try to do the 80s and they do it overboard 80s.
Right.
I feel like this wasn't done overboard 80s. They had some people who were like, oh yeah, that's an 80s stereotype. But they had people in just like regular clothes from the 80s and stuff like that. I like that. Cheetah, I wish she was better than what they scripted her. Like,
as far as her role before she became Cheetah, or what are you meaning by that?
So they didn't give her enough Cheetah time. One,
yeah.
there wasn't enough as Cheetah. there's great backstory kind of thing. Okay. But Cheetah is one of Wonder Woman's like most known villains.
Yep.
And they've had one fight. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't like there wasn't this big thing, and so I feel like a little let down with the Cheetah.
Yeah.
The storyline itself, I don't know. It could have been so much better.
Do you feel like it would have felt better in the theater?
No.
Okay. Because I actually think it would for me. For me, that was one of the things I'm sitting here going, this would play better. The scene in the plane going with the fireworks, that would play better in the theater.
It was filmed to be seen on the big screen.
Right. There were moments, the fighting at the White House, the infight with Cheetah, those sort of things I think would have made me like the movie better just because it would have been in that bigger screen with the fans. So
I really liked the opening. I liked watching little Diana. I like that. That would have been really cool. I don't know if it had much to do with the actual plot of the movie.
Other than it's
just the little tiny thing, they could have thrown that in anything. Like
I know, but it was good. It was good. That was one of the better parts of the movie. So
I liked it. I think that I like seeing the backstory of Wonder Woman. I like seeing that. I love the Linda Carter coming in and that whole little after credit scene kind of thing, just because I love Linda Carter. But no, I don't know if I will watch it again. It's not, comparatively speaking, of DC movies. It's not bad.
Right. No, I'm with you.
DC does not, they're hit or miss. And this one hit. It just didn't hit quite as much as I wanted it to. And it didn't hit as much as Wonder Woman the first one did.
I'm with you there. What do you have to say, Keith?
Keith is like going.
He's biting his tongue over here.
I know.
Okay. Like you, I really enjoyed the first film. I found the people that were hired to write that screenplay, along with the participation of Zack Snyder, did a really, really good job. This film was born out of all the decisions that were made post Justice League.
Right.
Of which one of the individuals that was directly responsible for everything that went wrong also wrote this screenplay. This individual's also been a part of the other DC film that is not part of the DCEU that this film is pretty reminiscent of, which is Green Lantern.
Yep.
Right.
It could have been so much.
This is look. There's something that you really need to understand about Patty Jenkins. Okay, I love Patty Jenkins. I do. But a lot of people need to understand that Wonder Woman was not the first comic book film that she was asked to work on.
Right.
She originally preceded Michelle McLaren on Thor: The Dark World. Okay? And this is the original version of Thor: The Dark World. Right. Okay? Which meant that the bad guy was Hela in the movie. Okay? The only reason why she really didn't end up making that movie is that she had a hard time dealing with all of the stuff that came with making an MCU movie. She didn't like following all the rules and the threads and the interconnectivity. Her personal original idea for Thor: The Dark World was more of a Romeo and Juliet type love story for Thor and his girlfriend. That didn't jibe with where the
didn't quite fit that. Yeah, well, because they had a master plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is known that she doesn't like to do stuff like that. Okay? She accepted the Wonder Woman job because Zack Snyder was of the opinion that aside from the little things necessary to keep everything going, he wasn't really anybody's boss. To say that Zack Snyder was running the DCEU is kind of like saying that Josh Whedon was running the MCU.
Right.
Okay? Snyder wanted to originally just hired to make Superman movies. He was to make a Superman trilogy, and Warner Brothers sort of did what they do, and next thing you know, he's in all of this. And he did the best that he could. That script for the first movie was really meant to fit within the framework of what had been presented for the story that they had told up to that point.
Right.
When Justice League did not do that well, the head of all things DC, especially the DCEU, Walter Hamada, and his people, along with Jeff Johns and others, decided, hey, we're free. And that's the way Warner Brothers treated it. All films from that point on were not to be a part of the whole DCEU.
They were supposed to be their
individual. That's right.
Individual stories.
So they went ahead and started basically refiguring and reconceiving all this stuff. Okay? Which is the reason why this film feels a little bit odd. Even though they kept certain things, they threw out a whole bunch of other things.
They did.
And one of the biggest problems is the opening scene. It doesn't match what was in the first film.
No.
Because according to the story of the first movie, Hippolyta didn't even allow Diana to begin training until she was at least 13 or 14. This film completely contradicts one of the major points of the first movie.
Right.
But besides all of that, it's weak. And I think this film ultimately is going to have an effect on Patty Jenkins' ability to work on Star Wars.
Oh.
Because she has not shown that she can actually put together a story and move forward with it.
Right.
And again, this is as we say on our show, this is what you get for trusting Jeff Johns. Nothing good has ever come from trusting that dude in anything that he's done.
Except for comics.
I just don't understand it.
That's because there's no one in charge.
I know, but
Walter Hamada comes from a different kind of background. He comes from the Blumhouse section of doing things, and he was put in charge. That doesn't necessarily, that's not the same as being someone who grew up with comics. Right. And again, that is the continuing theme with corporate entertainment. Yeah. Whether you were talking Fox, Sony, Universal, even Disney and Warner Brothers, which is when you really look at the accomplishments of the MCU and Kevin Feige, you have to understand that what they did is very rare for multiple reasons. But the biggest is they had a structure and a company that, first of all, inherited what they were doing. Because the MCU had actually started before Disney bought anything. Now, Disney could have very easily have come in and Bob Iger could have put his foot down and said, we're going to do it our way.
Right.
They didn't. They allowed Marvel to continue doing what they're doing. And having lived through the experience of working with Fox on all of their Marvel films and all of the behind-the-scenes drama, the political stuff, all that stuff that he had to basically fight through. And again, back when those movies were being made, nobody at Fox even probably knew who Kevin Feige was.
Right.
Him becoming the guy for the MCU was a major accomplishment. And he took all those lessons he had learned and use that to do it better. That's the reason why you can't confuse the MCU with all the other Marvel films, even Spider-Man, because it's a different process, both creatively and otherwise, which again then means that the DC films, the DCEU films, the Fox Marvel films, and the Sony Marvel films, those are all their own group over here, and the MCU is well over this way.
Right.
And it's a completely different animal. You can't really mix and match. It's just two completely different things. And I think to do this properly, you would have to put someone in charge who actually is a fan. And this has led to why Doctor Who is not doing well, why Star Trek is not doing well, why Star Wars is not doing well. I mean, to a person, when you do not have the person in charge that is a fan, this is what you get, which is chaos.
Right.
So as a film outside of the DCEU, as its own independent thing, Wonder Woman kind of works, as long as you have never read Wonder Woman comic books and you never really saw the first movie.
Right.
So,
it's listen, the fight scenes are okay. They're not horrible. They're okay.
Yeah, they're good.
The mall. I enjoyed watching her tie the people up and stuff. The whole like secret thing, but you let 100 people see you at a mall. That was a little weird. But you know, I still think Gal Gadot is beautiful. She is my Wonder Woman.
Yes, look, Gal Gadot, Chris Pine. Those two have chemistry for days.
Right.
It is rare to find people that have chemistry. I mean, real, palatable chemistry.
Right.
That you can actually just sitting there watching these two people. If you did not know that she was married and he was with his girl, you would swear these two were together.
Right.
Okay.
Well, because they also not just chemistry, but the way they talk and the way they interact is like people who've been together for years. Because it's not like all hot and passionate all the time. It's like, you know, she'll look at him and she'll just like give the look, and he's like, he knows that's not.
Which is interesting, since their characters actually didn't have that much time together.
No.
Right.
Yeah. But that's the other part that I had. I mean, you know, I have issues with this storyline.
I will say this: my problems with Wonder Woman 84 almost mirror the problems that I had with X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh.
Although it didn't make the same exact mistake where you put all your best ideas for that movie, Wolverine, in the opening credits, where the film itself seems like one big giant afterthought and a plot and story made by people who have never read X-Men. Wonder Woman just seems like a movie that was at best put together by committee.
Right.
The whole thing with Steve and Diana, if you were to take all that out completely, remove all of that stuff, what you're left with is the story of a woman who has had a life. She's lived a really long time, and she meets someone else that's kind of a kindred spirit in Barbara Minerva.
Right.
The two of them have a kind of really cool buddy friendship chemistry that it gets interrupted by all this odd stuff they keep adding into the plot. Now, even when they were working against each other, they had a kind of chemistry when Diana would contact Barbara and had her look stuff up. I mean, they had a way of working that was really cool. I think they should have stuck with that story.
Right.
Because you have two people that were working together to save the world, but had different stakes, different things that they were aiming for, which is really the classic story for how, you know, ultimately the heroine and their nemesis come out. whether
Right.
you're talking Doctor Strange, whether you're talking Sherlock Holmes, and that's the way they, in my opinion, should have played that up.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
agree. It was so that's why I was like, give me more Cheetah, because once she turned Cheetah, you didn't really see that back and forth. Like Barbara is a brilliant. Yeah, she's awkward. She's a nerdy girl that nobody even pays attention to.
But that's not true in the comics.
No, it's not.
No.
No. But she's smart. She's witty. She has intelligence behind her, and they pointed at all those things. They made you realize this. Like, you know, she has all these doctorates and all of this stuff.
Right.
And when she was talking to Diana, she would bring up things and, oh, I discovered this from all of this time and, and this research and everything. But then as soon as she turned into Cheetah, there was not that back and forth banter.
Yeah, it began to recede.
Yeah.
Her personality began to change. And by the time you get to the whole White House scene, there's a lot of development that does not feel earned because they didn't spend enough time building towards that.
Yeah.
And all of the scenes with Diana and Steve are kind of like oddly shoved in there rather than it being this thing that is an earned thing or flows with the rest of the story. And again, I'm one of those people that believes that since in film you see stuff being created out of thin air, the big question is, why did Steve have to just basically take over someone else's body? Why couldn't he have just come back?
Right.
Right.
Shrew said this the night we watched it. He's like, it's creepy because yes, she sees him as Steve after she looks at him for a little bit, but when she first sees him, she doesn't realize it's Steve.
Right.
And so she is now having a physical relationship with someone she's never seen. This guy is having a physical relationship with Wonder Woman, but he doesn't remember it.
Yeah, he has at the end of the movie, he has no idea who she is. So technically, she did something wrong.
She did. I mean, somebody else was inhabiting his body. Also, where did he go? Where did this guy go?
Yeah.
I agree with that. Like, I feel like they should have just brought Steve back. I don't think the whole, like, him not being him, like, no one else saw him as Steve.
Yeah.
I feel like that's an issue.
I think that what they should have done with this story to help really communicate why Diana was inclined to become friends with Barbara is they should have played out the story of Etta and Diana more.
I missed that they have a picture.
Yeah, they have a picture.
One picture of Etta.
And it's like, okay, well, really, my biggest problem
Steve doesn't ask about Etta.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem I had because in the comics, Steve and Etta had the relationship.
Yes.
Diana and Etta had a friendship because of Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, Steve. But
it also, I think, grew into a real friendship because they were together a lot longer.
Yeah.
And I think that it would have served better to have seen that, so that to see, instead of having the beginning of the movie on Themyscira, you should have had the beginning of the movie set around the time that picture was taken. So it looks like Etta and Diana were coming to America in the 1950s.
Yeah.
Right.
And so she and Etta were together. Etta looks to be someone that probably is in her 60s, 70s.
I would say 70s, early 70s.
Yeah.
By the dress in the time from the first movie, Etta would be like in her early 70s, probably like under 75. And because then you could see Diana losing Etta.
Right.
Like you can see, and then that would give you that whole depth of Diana's personality that would attract or be attracted to being friends with Barbara, because she sees this lonely person and she's lonely, and
in certain ways she's kind of like Etta.
Yeah.
Edda was kind of funny, but Edda's job allowed her to wield power to
Right.
be, whereas with Barbara, she was the exact opposite. It made her kind of awkward. And so Diana would have seen that and figured that maybe a relationship with this woman, being her friend, talking to her as a person,
right,
would be more helpful to her than anything else.
Right.
And also, she's kind of lonely herself. She's not really had anyone that she could confide in.
Well,
So,
in the scene of her sitting there at dinner by herself, that kind of shows that building that they did a lot of things to kind of build towards it, but they never really took it to the full length.
well, and also it's kind of like the weird kind of stalkerish thing with a lot of those pictures. I mean, the Trevor Ranch, but it was the third picture that I had a problem with, because for someone that has been trying to stay out of the spotlight, how come they felt the need to have a picture of Diana helping people out of a concentration camp?
right.
That's not exactly being very low key and not doing anything. And again, that flies in the face of everything that had been established in previous movies. And yes, granted, having just said, well, they were trying to get away from all those, I get that. But if you're going to go down that road with the way you're telling this story, if you're going to follow the Connor McLeod Highlander example, where she's a person who's lives with, establishes relationships and then has to watch as these people.
Right.
She doesn't. And the pain of losing people. See, that would have been better to establish that kind of relationship rather than to have her continuously pining after Steve.
Also, that's the other thing I have an issue with, is that it throws away the whole end of Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Throws away, like, she gets the letter from Bruce, and thank you for bringing him back to me. So that kind of made you think to yourself, like, okay, but now she's been pining for him for all of these years. She actually got to see him again in 1984, which for someone who has an almost immortal life, like she ages, obviously, when she's on the island and stuff like that. Because I had to have that explanation with Lex. She's like, well, why doesn't she age afterwards? And like,
also it's a part of who she is genetically. Yeah. She's a demigoddess.
Yeah.
Okay. So
she grows up and then she doesn't. Like,
there's a point when the way you age, it just takes a lot longer than the normal lifespan.
But so for somebody who's lived that long, the way she puts it, when at the end of Wonder Woman, when she thanks Bruce for bringing him back to me, they didn't make any sense with this one, because she's been pining over him all these years, and she saw him in 1984. Like,
yeah, but 1984 is still a long time.
Still a long time.
I like to think it's not that long ago, but
yeah, it was a long time ago. It was, but it wasn't. It diminishes the dramatic effect that statement at the end of Wonder Woman, which was so beautiful, made, because it was like, okay, she loved him, lost him, and then didn't, like, he was always in the back of her head, but she didn't like relive it every single day. And then this one makes it feel like that's all she's done all of these years, is relived it every single day. It takes away some of Wonder Woman's strength, but not in the good way, because I actually liked when they brought him back and then she had to give him up again.
Right.
And because she was losing her strength and she was weak. And I liked that little arc. I liked, because it showed that she sacrifices over and over and over again. And Wonder Woman sacrifices over and over and over again. But it diminishes the first one just a little bit.
I will say this,
away from it.
At least answer one question, which is at the end of Wonder Woman, the first film.
Yeah.
It did answer exactly what she was doing at the end of that movie when she makes that large jump. Well, she's flying.
Right.
So now you have an explanation as how she was able to fly. Although technically, she was actually flying at the end of the fight in the third act.
Yeah.
You know,
or was she doing the Incredible Hulk jump?
maybe. But
yeah,
I mean,
I don't know. Or the leaping tall buildings jump.
Well,
you know, I don't know.
Fight in the first one, she does fly.
yes,
That's what I thought too.
And I guess that she's never done it since. I guess that's what they're getting to, but I don't know. It just no. If you connect the two movies, like if you watch this movie by itself without thinking about the first one, it's not enjoyable. It's enjoyable.
It's
enjoyable. Yes.
When you go back and you think about how, like, I think the first Wonder Woman with Gal was just one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. That's a big statement, but I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan, so it fits. Okay.
Right. No, I'm with you. Yeah.
You start questioning. That's what I was saying earlier with the continuity of it. The continuity of the storyline did not fit. It was like a puzzle piece that could have but it was like forced. It felt like it was forcing.
I think the original script was developed with it being within the DCEU.
Okay.
And that they probably went back and tried to make some differences to make it not be in the DCEU, and
which is kind of
all the elements.
Crazy.
Yeah, well, that again, this is the reason why you need to have someone in charge.
Well,
someone needs to be in charge. And
I agree with that.
Hamada, who is the guy in charge, doesn't seem to want to be that creative guy in charge. He's
like a hands-off guy in charge. He's like,
and you can't do that. You can't do that. You got to have somebody that can sit there and go, okay, this is our game plan. This is what we are doing. Or else you get this. This is the kind of this is what separates the MCU from Fox, Sony, everyone else. So this is part of that. This is that part of it that is really more about the hard work and the logistics of being able to put something together like this versus fans thinking, well, this is kind of easy. Well, it really isn't that easy. Because if it was easy, everybody else were going to do it. Or if it were about the types of characters, if it were all just about Marvel versus DC characters, well, then the Fox would still be around as a company, and Sony wouldn't have to be doing a lot of goofy, dumb stuff to try to keep Spider-Man going.
Right.
It has nothing to do with that. It's literally about
It's literally it's like when you're writing something and disagree or not with her as a person now. J.K. Rowling is a perfect example of this. She has said in many interviews, the minute she started writing, she knew how it was going to end.
Right.
7 books. But she had an end plan. She had an end game. She knew that Snape was not going to be the bad guy. She knew, like, she told Alan Rickman that he was not, like, she gave him the secret of Snape's personality and why he's doing this before she had written the books.
Right.
That finished that storyline up because
she'd written it here. She knew it. Yeah.
And that's the problem is, like, if you're going to try to do storyline after storyline after storyline with the same character, there has to be an end game for them to get to. And when they don't have that, they don't have a planning, and like Keith said, somebody in charge going, this is our end game. Everything, every decision has to be made to get there. Even when you make creative licenses, you have to be able to get to that end game, and that's the problem.
And that was the problem with Fox. They didn't have an end game for X-Men. And look at it this way. A lot of people may make fun of what they've done with DC, but you got to remember, Fox sold you the same movie twice with the X-Men. Twice. They did the same story twice with 2 different casts.
Well, the second one was slightly better. Slightly. The X3 is horrible.
Listen, they
So-
have yet to get the X-Men right.
No, I agree.
And,
No, I
and
agree.
really, if you're going to do
I love that.
the whole, Phoenix saga, I want the Phoenix saga. I don't want budget Phoenix saga.
I don't want Professor's gone in and tapped off half her brain and
That's not the
So,
Phoenix saga.
yeah.
Phoenix saga is a world universe spanning story
Right.
that is played out on a galactic scale.
right.
Really about these characters and specifically about Cyclops and Jean.
Right. Agreed.
Too.
And-
That's the climactic scene.
But the problem is like when they started X-Men, I had such high hopes for it because I am a huge X-Men fan. Wonder Woman, then X-Men. I hated that they combined characters. I hated that they rushed storylines that should have drug out more, and then they drug out storylines that were just minor things that shouldn't have been focused on forever. I did not like. I mean, casting, they did okay in casting sometimes. Sometimes they did not. But no, if you're trying to tell a story, then you need to read the comics, because this comics, pick one of the storylines from the comics, and there are a serial of stories, and you start at the beginning and you get to the end, and then that's where you need to end.
Right.
You can't pick, oh, this one looked cool. Look, this one is right in the middle. We're going to start here, and then we're going to go back to there, and then we're going to go there. And it jumps around too much. The continuity is not good.
And then when you break what I consider to be the cardinal rule of filmmaking, the cardinal relationship, which is where you have your producer becomes an obstacle to the director rather than a supporter of the director, which is really the producer's job,
right?
Then you have problems. It happened with Superman 2. It happened with Spider-Man 3. It happened with Justice League. These are all incidences where the producers, the person or people whose job it is to protect the creative vision of the director from all outside influences, turned into really the biggest obstacle or enemy to that story. Superman 2 is a great example of a film that never should have had the problems that it did. But you had a pair of producers who owned the rights to do this, who, first of all, were not Superman fans. They weren't even from this country. They didn't understand the character. You had a director that did. So they trusted him, but they only trusted him with the first story. Richard Donner was at least smart enough to get them to try to film 1 and 2 simultaneously. But then you had the producers who were kind of like with the executives at Warner Brothers who didn't really know the production. They weren't really a part of what they were doing. And you had the executives and the CEO that were worried that this film was going to fail.
Right.
And so the producers took advantage of that. So when they gave him a new assistant director, a new second unit director, which was someone who the producers had worked with prior to that, Richard Lester, and presented him to Richard Donner as someone to assist you. And then whose job it was to learn how the production worked, to see how everything was being put together so they could then turn around and fire the director, which is what they did. They fired Richard Donner, replaced him with Richard Lester. Now remember, the movie was 90% done, Superman 2. That film should have come out the following year, 1979, definitely by 1980. This is not a film that should have come out in 1981. And what they did, just like with Justice League, was they went back and refilmed and reshot a majority of that movie.
And then they complained because they're not making their money, but they also refilmed a whole entire movie.
So they decided to lay it all.
You made 2 movies instead of 1, so you're not going to get your money back for it. I'm sorry.
Which
not how
is
that works.
what the problem was with Solo. Solo, if Kathleen Kennedy had just let the directors complete the movie, if that film had come out and made the same amount of money that it actually did, Solo would have been in the black.
Yeah.
But because they spent the equivalent of making 2 movies on one film, it's still in the red. It's heavily in the red.
And then it's considered a flop, and so then they're not going to pursue it anymore. They're not going to pursue anything like it anymore. But the problem is, it's not the writer's fault. It's not the
director's fault.
It's not the director's fault. It's literally the people who are in charge who say, okay, well, we don't like this, so let's remake a movie. Then let them make that movie, and then do a remake of it separately in a separate thing, and then you have 2 chances to be in the black and not in the red.
And that's where we are. This is corporate filmmaking, and this is the reason why everything is so messed up, and why it's not that easy to replicate the success of the MCU.
Talk about the MCU. Mandy's going to comment for you.
Yeah.
And I think you were saying the DCEU instead of the MCU.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Mandy. And you're right. There needs to be a fan. And that's what makes Kevin Feige so different. I mean, literally, when you have Kevin Feige's boss at Disney, Alan Horn, say in an interview, it's like, look, this is a guy that has had decades of experience in the business. This guy knows movies. Okay? When you have someone like that being able to look at you in an interview and say, I have no idea how this works. I don't understand the comic book thing. That's what makes Kevin so important. There you go. I really don't understand this corporate mindset not to put people who are fans of the material in charge. And again, I don't understand it with Star Wars. I don't understand it with Star Trek. I don't understand it with even Doctor Who. This is where your problems come in.
The thing with Doctor Who, because Jodie's leaving and everything, and we did an article on that. I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. Like, I haven't been a Whovian since 1981. Okay, so way before the modern, what I call the modern doctors, way before Chris and David and all of them. But when Moffat took over, was the showrunner, he at least knew the show. He knew the show. He knew what the characters were supposed to be.
Well, Russell Davies did too. To be
right. Yes,
Davies and Stephen Moffat were both big fans.
Yes.
And the thing is, Chris Chibnall is a fan to an extent, but the way he treats it is almost like it's like that weird kid who's into collecting small animals. And then you realize years later that, you notice he never kept the same small animal. Well, what was he doing with these animals?
Right.
And that's Chris Chibnall. He's a little off.
It's the it's the throwaway fans. And I know that sounds weird, but it's the fans that are like, well, I like this, and I like this, and I like this. And you're like, okay, you can, and I have no problem with you being that kind of fan, but that kind of fan should not run the show.
Yes.
Right.
Same thing with Star Trek. You cannot have someone that is not a fan. And again, I don't care what anybody says. Alex Kurtzman has given interviews. He did not grow up a Star Trek fan. He wasn't a fan until he started making Star Trek. And what he's a fan of is the Star Trek he makes, not the Star Trek that exists.
Right.
The dude is out there.
Yeah.
And his words. I keep telling people, if you liked JJ's Star Trek, guess what? Alex Kurtzman wrote that script.
Right.
If you love the Discovery stuff, Alex Kurtzman rewrote that script. He changed a lot of stuff from the original concept of Discovery.
Right.
This is his view, his vision. This is the view and vision of someone who did not grow up a Star Trek fan. And
we were talking about Star Trek because I'm a huge Star Trek fan. Like, Shpoo's a Star Wars fan. I am too, but I like Star Trek, a lot, and he does too. But I like Star Trek a little more than Star Wars. I like Star Wars a little more than Star Trek.
Yeah.
Which makes us perfect. but we were talking about, and I haven't seen the new stuff. One, because I don't have CBS. Like, I'm not paying to watch it. But we were talking about Picard and everything, and just, I haven't, because I'm the type of person, I don't want to read a lot of stuff about things or anything unless I watch it. And since I haven't watched it and I'm a Trekkie, I'm like, oh, I don't want spoilers or all that stuff. And he was talking to me about all of the stuff, and we were just discussing it, and the fact that they have basically changed the whole premise of Star Trek.
Star Trek doesn't exist anymore.
Star Trek
1966 to 2005. That's
Right.
it. That's it.
It does. It's on Hulu now.
Yeah.
It is.
But the thing is like
midway through DS9, everything changed, and it's never gone back.
I mean, he has that thought. I don't know. I'm a little frustrated with Voyager stuck with the Voyager stuck with the idea of Star Trek. Post Voyager, he says. So, okay.
Well, I liked Enterprise also. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, Enterprise, in my opinion, is part of the reason why we have all the problems that we do today. And again, Enterprise was born out of taking two people who were not fans, who had been given the position of deciding what Star Trek was at that time. Basically, in my opinion, cutting out someone who was a fan, lying to that person, and forcing that person out of Star Trek in order to complete what they were doing.
Right.
Because the person who would have been in charge, who would have helped in the next new show they were doing, would have said what he said in an interview, which is, had they allowed me to be a part of it, I would have told him it was dumb to go back in time.
Right.
Star Trek moves forward, not backwards.
Yes.
And because of Enterprise, that set up the whole thing of being able to change even stories that they had done on The Next Generation, where you get to reconceptualize stuff rather than doing new stuff that moves the story forward. And they did that a lot with Enterprise. There were a few episodes that even contradicted episodes under that same staff that had worked on Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. The whole thing with the Borg on Enterprise contradicts everything about what they had done on Next Generation.
Right.
Completely changes it. So anybody that comes along and says, well, you guys are being gatekeepers and you can't. Well, the thing is, yeah, Enterprise started it. Enterprise opened that door and made it possible for people to say, well, maybe we can go back and redo this and not have to care about what has come before. And
the thing is, it's not gatekeeping. Because if you like the new stuff, then you go ahead and like the new stuff.
Yeah, go ahead and like it.
But when you have Picard living somewhere where there's all these poor people, and you have 7 and 9 killing all these people after she's gone through all the things she did.
F-bomb. They never need to drop the F-bomb in the history of Star Trek until
that's what Drew said.
Yeah.
Drew literally said that. He's like, he goes, babe, they dropped the F-bomb. And I was like, that's not Star Trek.
Yeah.
Sheer effing hubris.
Not just that, but yes. Yeah, that's not the only thing they've done. But they get so used to it. And my thing is, it's two things what's wrong with that. You're dropping the F-bomb, and you're dropping the F-bomb on a CBS television series.
Right.
This is CBS. This isn't NBC. This isn't ABC. This isn't Fox. This is CBS. And you're dropping an F-bomb on a CBS show.
Right.
Well, just a streaming service. So.
It is on the streaming service.
Not anymore. I mean, they've been showing Discovery's latest. That's on CBS now. They're running it. Yeah, and they bleep a lot of the stuff out, but
sure.
Discovery is basically trying and attempting to do what they're doing very successfully with the television series The Expanse. And that's the reason why The Expanse is the best science fiction series on TV right now. Period. End of story. All other arguments are invalid. You're not
Wow.
watching-
All right then.
You are not watching the best science fiction series out there.
I'm not.
And it's sad because every episode, especially this season, is putting everything I've seen for the current season of Discovery to shame.
Yeah.
You know, it is well written, well acted, very diverse. Basically, all the stuff that Star Trek Discovery and all those people probably hurt themselves a lot trying to basically pat themselves on the back for. They do it on the Expanse without fanfare, without compromise,
Right.
without really even demeaning their fans. And the added kicker is the showrunner is someone who got their start working on Star Trek. In fact, he worked on DS9. He worked on Farscape. He's worked dozens of other shows.
Right.
And his whole thing is, instead of giving interviews to talk about how progressive he is and how important it is to have female representation, he just writes it all in. It's just there.
Right.
Everything that they say they are with Discovery is what the Expanse has been from day one. And they don't talk about it because they don't have to.
We got another thing from Mandy. Let's see what Mandy has to say.
Yes, you're right, Mandy.
So that's what I was alluding to when I said it's on Hulu. Is the Orville is Star Trek for me. So
Yes.
I mean,
all right. So let me bring this back because I didn't really get to go and share my thoughts on Wonder Woman.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know. We let Keith go, and then we go all sorts of places. You never know where you're going to end up.
it's a journey.
And that's okay, Keith. We don't mind. We know that when you come on. So here's my thoughts on Wonder Woman. I had a good time. I give that movie a B. Had a great time watching it. It had a lot of problems. It had lots and lots of problems. As a comic fan, knowing that Maxwell Lord is a huge villain, he is so sinister. The way he can use his powers and manipulate people, and knowing that he's done that since the inception of when he first was introduced in the comics in the mid 80s, helping run the Justice League, because he was a heck of a guy that's wanting to do this and really manipulating things behind the scenes. The whole idea that he got his powers because he wished it, and all of that, that really threw me, because I'm like, okay, you got to kind of explain the powers. And when you read the comics, it's very convoluted how he got the powers. It changes about every 5 years on how he got his powers. I don't care. He could have been born with it, as far as I was concerned. But I thought that was an odd way to do it. One thing to have that stone thing to wish on. Another thing to become it. I didn't really understand why you would want to even become it. That really kind of threw me off.
That, and Professor, speaking of Maxwell Lord and the stone, and he becomes it, like he limits it. This movie limits his powers.
Right.
In a way that the comics don't, because he literally says you get one wish.
Right.
And he has now let millions of people make their one wish to him. Yes, they retracted it. Does that mean they get another one? I don't know. It hasn't really didn't go into that.
Barbara got another one.
What? Well, Barbara, but if you listen to it, she doesn't wish for that. She says, "I want to be," and he was like, "Okay." And she doesn't wish for it. So he's just using his powers to give her that.
It's like Aladdin tricking the genie into getting him out of the cave.
Well,
right.
She had stayed with her original wish, she would have been able to fight Diana to a standstill. And the only reason why she probably would have lost is that Diana is a trained
fighter.
Yeah,
whereas going to the whole apex predator thing, that kind of lowers you on the list because you are an apex predator for the world, but not an apex predator of gods.
Right.
Which Diana is one.
And they had to do that. I understand why they had to do that. Plus, they had to give Cheetah her look. They had to give her the Cheetah look.
I really wish we would have done more of the traditional storyline of the Cheetah, with her being a kind of kick butt archaeologist and stumbling upon the leopard god and all of that, and getting it that would have been kind of a cool way to go. Now, I understand you're trying to wrap all this together. You're trying to make there a reason why Maxwell Lord has powers, why Cheetah has powers, and why Steve Trevor's there.
Right.
I get it.
But it's like pushing 3 movies into one.
Right. It wasn't needed. You could have had other things, and you could have had Steve back in numerous ways, or even in flashbacks. That would have actually made more sense to me. Have him there in flashback. Now, did I enjoy? I enjoyed the stuff in the '80s because you nailed it. The whole thing in the mall was perfect '80s. Reminded me of the mall scenes in Stranger Things. Just nailed the whole mall feel.
Where it wasn't like, oh, this is what you think the 80s should be.
Right.
It was like kids dressed in the way I dressed in the 80s. It was,
and you had some of the very 80s outfits, but we all saw that. Yeah.
Exercising like the,
right. Yeah. And then you had the scene with Steve trying on the different outfits. That was cute. I had a good time with it. I'm an 80s nerd.
I hate when movies do that. I don't know why I do. It is a trope that they use in so many movies where they have it's the pretty woman where she's trying on all the clothes.
Oh yeah.
Filler. I feel like it's filler. I feel like I understand he's she's showing him the world the way it is now, and I liked that part. I liked when they were out exploring the world. He was seeing the world, but the clothes, I'm like, he's a pilot.
Here it's true. But we know that he plays second fiddle to her. So in all of the superhero tropes that of where the superhero has to save the maiden and all of that, and then you would have her modeling and stuff, you're kind of flipping that there. So I can see that. And I didn't mind it. I thought there was some humor to it. If you can add some humor, I'm okay with it, as long as it's not horrible. But I get it.
I like their communication during that is one of the communications I was talking about, where it looked like the chemistry is not just this hot, passionate chemistry.
Right.
It's the look that you give your significant other when they put on an ugly outfit, and you're like, no.
not with me. You're not doing that. So
it's that.
So I enjoyed the movie a lot. I went back and watched it a second time, enjoyed it the second time, and thought to myself, gee, it kind of had and talking about Thor, it kind of had that Thor feel there of the second movie, where you're like, okay, it was good, it wasn't great, had fun, okay, we can move on. And as long as we take this and go, you know what, that's all right, we can just move along. The other thing, so I had rationalized the whole thing with Diana and Steve, that here she is pining for him. She brings him back because of her wish, but she gets this little bit of time with him, and then she realizes it was all fake. So then it goes back to, I want the real Steve back, all those years. And then when she realizes, I had that little whatever that was in the 80s where we didn't know that you got to ask permission, whatever, we'll just take somebody's body over and have sex like Ghost, whatever. Because it's Ghost. It's the movie Ghost.
That bothered me so much.
I understand that. But that's where we were at with it. It's interesting. What would the outcry have been the other way around?
Oh, no, but it wouldn't have happened.
Oh, right. You couldn't have.
Like, if Superman would have wished Lois Lane back to life, like if Lois Lane had died in World War and blah blah blah, and he wished her back to life, and then she was in some other woman's body and he had sex with her, and that woman did not realize that her body was being used for having, no, it wouldn't have happened. But it happens because they wanted a romantic twist.
Right.
I get that. I understand that.
You can have a romance without having sex.
You can. They did not.
It's the 80s. Whatever.
It was the D.
But
That's the thing with movies that I dislike is that everything always has to end up there, and you're always like, man, how long did they know each other before they just jumped in bed? And but that's movies in general. So
the thing is it's not Steve's body.
no, right? No,
And
I agree.
I understand like loving somebody for who they are. That's
Right.
the whole idea of it. Is like she sees him because she loves him and all of this stuff, but it's not his body. It's somebody else's body.
Right.
It's like
Yeah, and that's the where truth comes in. That is the cornerstone of who Wonder Woman is, and ultimately, it wasn't true. It wasn't true.
Right. Oh, that's true.
And
right.
so it again, when it came time for her to make that decision to move on, difficult as it was also the right decision because it wasn't true.
Right.
So,
Agreed. I also really like where they showed the scenes where she went out of her way to protect the innocent. The scenes with the kids in the road and all of that, even though she was losing her powers, I really like that because I felt like that was true to Wonder Woman.
Yes.
I felt a lot of truth with that. I did kind of enjoy that here she is, she's trying to hide, but then she's like, crap, I got to take out these bad guys. So, yeah. And I loved the little girl's face when she slid her into the thing. So there were things about this movie I really liked. And there was just problems with it.
I liked her with every interaction with children that she had.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I was a kid when I was introduced to Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. And if Wonder Woman would have saved me from bad guys in a mall, trust me, my face would have been like,
yeah, exactly.
And I think where the continuity fell short, of course, we've talked about that, but like the bad guys fell short. I thought it was created. It shouldn't have been Max Lord that she did this to, but I did find it really cool that like the superhero talks a bad guy out of being a bad guy.
Right.
Well, that goes with the early Wonder Woman comics, though.
Yeah,
it does.
The original Wonder Woman comics, when she was first debuting, that was a lot of what she did. She would fight bad guys, but she would also try to talk them out of what they were doing.
Right.
Well, she's actually done that in some of her recent comics. Also, I'm a subscriber to her monthly or her every twice a month comic, and she's been doing some of that. So now, part of me kind of wanted her to snap Maxwell Lord's neck like she did in Infinity War or Infinite Crisis, but I'm glad she did.
I love that she did that. I just don't think that this was the bad guy she should have done that with.
Right.
I think they limit Max Lord now. Like they've limited him. They've limited Cheetah. And these are
but Cheetah's not necessarily dead. Cheetah's not necessarily dead.
She's not dead. Like she's not dead. And everything, but they've limited her. They've limited her because now she literally has all of this power, but she knows she lost, and she not lost bad, like a little bit. She lost a lot, almost died. And they limit her wit and her intelligence. When she starts becoming Cheetah, yes, she transforms, but they take some of her intelligence away. And I didn't like that. I think they should have made her who Cheetah was to Wonder Woman, which is the smart, intelligent, strong woman that Wonder Woman had to fight.
Right.
Like, don't make her so much weaker than Diana that it's like when she arrived on the screen and she was like dropping things, and I was like, yeah, that's not. Why do they do that? Why do they make the bad guys and the nemesis to superheroes before they get their powers? Why do they always make them like awkward nobodies? They're not always like that.
Yeah, and that was my problem with that. Yeah, I know. I was going to say, you got Catwoman in Batman Returns, which is one of my favorite movies, but you make Selena Kyle. Right.
That's not Selena Kyle.
Exactly.
Kyle was this like ballsy character before she took on the persona of Catwoman. She wasn't like, oh, little secretary. Like,
Right,
no, and they
right.
did that to Barbara. And
Right, exactly. That was my problem with what they did to Barbara. Was she should have been a very strong, now very intelligent and working with Diana. You could have built that without her having to be mousy. You could have kind of had her.
You could have had her as someone that is a very strong personality.
Yes,
The exact opposite of the way she was originally before she got her first wish. And you could have made her someone who a lot of people thought was a B word.
right,
And
right.
only because of hanging out with Diana and seeing that there's another way to doing things. Whereas she could boss people around, Diana would ask people for things.
Right.
Tell them what to do. And it was two very different ways of handling and working with people. And you could have seen Barbara begin to see that there is another way to deal with people and things. But also that Diana could understand why Barbara felt she had to become like that in order to be successful in the world.
Right. To be a strong, like, woman in the workplace, especially with Barbara's credentials. Like, I find it really hard to believe that this woman has studied all of these things and she is so mousy and quiet. Like, when they made Selena Kyle the secretary, at least that is in a spot in your head where you're like, you could see a secretary or personal assistant being a little bit more quiet. This is a woman who studies all of these ancient things. You know, she's gone to places and actually studied these things, not just in books. It's not like they made her a librarian who studied these things. She was an architect. Or an archaeologist. She was, she studied all these things.
And that's why it would have been cool to actually have that as her origin. So anyway, but even with the flaws, had a fun time with the movie. I will happily watch it again and just kind of go with it like I do a lot of movies. I mean, I feel that way about Batman versus Superman. There's things in there for me that are gaping holes and things, and I was like, but I still have a good time watching it. So
I don't think this film is as bad as Harley Quinn.
Oh, well, that's true.
I don't think it's as bad as Green Lantern.
Well, right, yeah.
And I, there are some really not that good DC films.
Right.
It's not as bad as Steel.
No.
Which,
I just
think such a cool movie.
I just think that overall, this film could have very easily have been much better than it was.
Yeah,
agreed.
If it didn't seem like that the corporate powers that be were telling Patty Jenkins that you better have Chris Pine in this movie because we need him. We got to bring in we got to bring in people and let them see this thing, and didn't need that.
No, right.
What they needed was to just concentrate on, and this is the thing that really Patty wanted. She wanted to do a trilogy of Wonder Woman movies that were pretty much self-contained unto themselves, which is kind of like what Matt Reeves is doing with Batman.
Right.
So that's what she really, really wanted. And I think they should have at least allowed her to do that. So that's the reason why I said I think initially when this script was initially written, it was written to be within the DCEU.
Right.
And after the fallout from Justice League, because of Jeff Johns, I think that they made certain changes without changing everything.
Right.
And so you got this weird movie that really doesn't, as I said, the movie was good, but it didn't know what it wanted to be. It tried all different things, and in trying to do all that, it's so confusing that it's really not much of anything.
You know what would have been perfect? If they would have left Steve being someone she pined for. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. If they would have had Etta in it, at least old Etta. I love Etta Kennedy. She's like one of my favorite characters of all times.
Agreed. Or have her daughter, who would be a similar personality.
Yeah.
Then you could go with the Black Etta from the comics that are currently there.
They could have
Sorry.
just
Go
had
ahead.
Wonder Woman fight Cheetah.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
Cheetah. Like
Yes.
Barbara has the powers, not because of a wish stone or anything like that, but she's a strong woman and something happens and her and Barbara, you know, maybe were like Diana and Barbara were like colleagues and then something happened and it drives her crazy and or whatever. And then
Diana tried to help her, but all Barbara sees is the fact that she begins to realize that there's more to Diana than what she's let on.
Exactly.
She's got powers. I want powers. How come you only have powers and I'm not allowed to be more strong, much
Right.
a strong person to stand up for myself? And Diana tries to teach her, like Amazons would. There's more to power than just the ability to be able to hurt people or do things.
Yep.
And
But
you know,
that would have made this movie if it would have just focused on the story of Diana and Barbara.
Right.
yes.
And that would have made this. And I love Chris Pine as Steve. I do. I agree with Keith when he says the chemistry is good and everything. But I don't think he needed to be in this movie. I don't think they didn't need the love. The love story.
Agreed.
He already sacrificed. And so they could have just made it about a strong woman fighting another strong woman
With a different point of view.
And it would have been good. And Max Lord, they could have brought him in later. Like, I feel like he also diminished Cheetah a little bit.
Agreed.
Like, I love Cheetah. But Max Lord, like, she's like, you can't hurt him. Like, okay, why? Just...
Well, I mean,
she'll lose her power.
Yeah.
Because he pretended to like you. Like, it made her seem feeble-minded to not realize that he had used her.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I would have rather her used him. I would have actually. That would have been a lot better of a twist there.
I would have liked that, but it made her be like more feeble-minded in that romantic way.
Right.
I think Cheetah should have been.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
And even Barbara at the first of this movie, I don't think that Barbara's an intelligent woman. Okay, she's not the Barbara I want, but she is an intelligent woman. I think when she realizes that he is now the stone, she would think, oh, he used me for the stone. Yes, I think she would have still protected her powers, but I don't think she would have cared as much and like had a romantic kind of like infatuation with Max Lord at that point. They still had her do that, and I find that annoying.
Preach it, girl. Preach it. You're right on. So, no, I agree. No, if you wanted Chris Pine in there, bring him in for her looking in the mirror, thinking about him, having her talk to him about what's going on, is kind of that whole subconscious that's talking.
Kind of
right. That works. You don't have to have him possessing somebody else's body. But
she's a demigod. If she has the power to turn a plane invisible, there should have been a way for her to have had a scene with Steve.
That was almost saran wrap from the S bad. I'm like, okay, I get you want to bring in the invisible plane, and you just explained it, but why?
They're like, she's like, I've only done it with a coffee cup, and now she's gonna do it with a plane because Steve's there. Like, it diminished her a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I could do this now that you're here, honey.
Right. And I can learn to fly because of you.
And that's the other thing. I've only flown prop planes, but hey, I can handle this modern piece of technology. You know.
And
right? Like,
oops, I forgot to tell you about radar. Oops.
Maybe the guy he possessed was a pilot, and he had some like memory of the guy he possessed.
Maybe.
I don't know. The possession thing bothers me.
No, I'm with you. It was a creepy way to do it. I was not a fan of that at all.
It's a good word. Creepy is definitely.
They should. All right, guys. If they would have brought him back and they just had her wish him back, and it was a physical manifestation of her memories of him in a physical body, because it is a wish stone, I would have been okay with that. It was. Yep. I don't understand how the wall in Egypt came up,
or the missiles.
or the missiles just appeared, but Steve has to be inside somebody else's body? Well, we never actually hear her wish. Maybe she wished, like, I wish I could see Steve in someone else's body.
I don't think that's what she would wish for. I don't know. I would think not.
I don't know. They're very specific, but the wishes are very specific to what they
and
want.
they twist what you're actually wanting, because that's part of it. So,
no,
all right. So let's move on to a couple other things, guys, before we call it a night. Wanted to mention a couple of things that also came out since we've last been together. Some kind of news for the end of the year. We've got a new trailer out for Superman and Lois on the CW. Did you guys see the trailer?
I did see the trailer.
What do you guys think? Because it really was what I thought too. Yeah. If it's on, I might watch it. I don't know.
Here's the thing. I'm not a huge Superman fan. I'm not. But this one is even meh for me as a non-Superman fan.
It's been 70 years. I just wish that I could meet a guy who is the living embodiment of Steve Trevor.
That's the wish.
Well, there you go.
he was only listening to part of it. He didn't realize
that's good. All right. Well, maybe. I don't think that's it, but maybe.
You know what? I'm all about Superman. You know,
I know you are.
But since Greg Berlanti's been allowed to do all the stuff that he's been doing with the help of Jeff Johns.
It always comes back to Jeff Johns for you. Read some of his comics, they're good.
It's not that. It's not that at all. It's just the fact that Jeff Johns is the guy that clearly tried to take, in my opinion, the easy way to fame and fortune. And Kevin Feige somehow got to the top of the mountain before he did. And I think his ego can't stand that.
It's possible.
Because they worked for when they were both in college, they both worked for Richard Donner.
Right.
They helped each other out. They did stuff for him. I think he just tried to take a shortcut by going into comics because they were both comic book fans.
Right.
Only Jeff had the writing talent. He college for writing, and he was still able to produce something like the Green Lantern movie. And again, to get back to Greg Berlanti, I think Berlanti not being as big a comic book fan as he says he is, that led to what we have in this series. He made a mistake, in my opinion, was what he did with Supergirl. Mm-hmm. And so in order to cover up that mistake, they had to do something different with Superman and Lois.
Right.
To cover up the fact that you no longer have Jimmy Olsen as a character to go to.
Yeah.
Right.
And other changes. But I can't get behind this. I'm sorry. I can't.
Just did not, like, a trailer is supposed to show you okay, I always tell you, if you don't want to watch a movie or something, watch the trailer. It's going to have almost all the exciting parts in it. Okay, this trailer literally made me go, meh. Like, I made that sound while watching this trailer. It is just, there was nothing in it that grabbed my attention enough to even like the trailer.
Right.
So
right.
This is what they're using to promote their show. I'm fearful that their show is going to be crap. And I only say that because if this is the best thing you can come up with to promote something, like, promotion is supposed to, you show your, like, maybe not all of it, but you show, like, your good stuff to get people into the door. If you're showing stuff that makes somebody go, as the good stuff, what is left?
Nothing for me to say to that at all. Right there.
This is why we've got to have AJ on, because she is so amazing that way. So
I just tell it like it is.
Our ace in the hole over here. So no, I agree with you. I watched it, and I think I made that same sound you did. I went, all right. I'm not. Those characters have been okay on Supergirl, and maybe you can spin them off into tell an interesting story. And I watched the trailer, going, please be something. Because I mean, I've watched Superboy, I watched Lois and Clark,
Right.
I watched Smallville. I mean, so any integration of the Superman story, I've watched it and watched the whole thing of it.
Yeah.
Even though I'm probably less of a Superman fan than a lot of comic fans. I'm definitely not at Keith level. I'm more of a Spidey guy. But I do enjoy, if you can tell, a compelling Superman story. It looks like maybe they're trying to do the Superman family as far as him having son and Lois, and maybe, I don't know. No,
They literally didn't. See, that's the problem.
there was no hook. There was no hook into it.
There wasn't even part of a hook. There's
No.
not even like the start of a hook. There was literally just, here's characters. We're gonna throw them on the screen. We don't know what they're gonna do yet.
Right. Fly.
We don't know
You're gonna
who
fly.
they are, other than you know who Superman and Lois are because you guys know who they are. But everyone else, including Superman and Lois, we're not going to show them doing anything. Like, it literally was I think it was one of the worst trailers I have seen. And these are for shows that are bad. Like, bad shows have better trailers than this.
Exactly.
And that stresses me out for this show. Like,
she's correct.
Well, I think they're relying that you've watched Supergirl to where you know these characters and that you know the connection there. I think that's I agree. Like I said, I watched it.
Lazy on their marketing department.
I was less interested in the show after seeing the trailer.
See, and that's the problem. If you're less interested after seeing the trailer,
I'm less interested.
It's okay. You watch The Flash. And then you watch Arrow. Both of them have really good they've had pretty good trailers, okay?
Right.
But you can't assume that somebody's watched one of the shows and so they know what's going on with the other show. Some people are just fans of Arrow. Some people are just fans of Flash. Some people are like, I just want to see Superman. Like, you can't, it's lazy marketing for you to assume fans are going to be interested in things just because you have two names on it that they recognize.
Right.
Show me something.
Preach it.
Bring me Terry Hatcher back. I'm all right with that.
Look, as far as Berlanti goes, I was pleasantly surprised by Doom Patrol.
Right.
Love Doom Patrol. Personally, I think that's really what he should be concentrating on. I am not the biggest fan of a lot of the other stuff that he's presented.
Right.
Flash was good,
but
I've stalled out because the formula that they use.
It's the same one. Every season.
Miscommunication leading to characters infighting, usually with someone perceiving the other person having lied about something that's not really that specific. And then
that's the CW.
Where they make you try to cry, usually about family or about relationships or how close we truly are. I'm done. It's kind of like Arrow and all the flashbacks. They went too far with that stuff. It's just, look, I'm done. Okay.
When you had him leaving the island that he couldn't get off of for flashbacks, I was like, what? I don't understand. Anyway, but neither here nor there. So I think we're pretty much all in agreement. That trailer did not help that series at all. So
and they better if I was them right now, I would be trying to put together another freaking trailer.
Put something out there that's going to grab people.
Right now, it shows nothing.
No, we're talking about no hook. It's like when you throw the line into the water, but there's no hook on it at all. It's just line out there, and expecting the fish to jump on the line so you can reel them in with no hook.
Just because the line says Superman on it.
Right, exactly.
And the thing is, it's really sad because it's lazy. it's a lazy marketing, and I don't know who was in charge of it. I don't know if it was the producers, the executive producers. I don't know who like decided that. I don't know if it was just the marketing people, because they are people who put trailers together. But it was literally, when I was watching it, I was like, all they're counting on is people knowing who Superman and Lois are.
Right.
And of course you know who it is, but that doesn't mean that I'm not a Superman fan. You should be trying to get me. Right. You should be trying to get people who aren't fans of it to want to watch your show.
Exactly.
Because the big fans of it are probably going to watch it because it's Superman.
Right.
Doesn't give
until
you
they get mad about it.
Doesn't give you the ratings you need or the longevity.
Well, and when you grab just those fans and you do some of the crappy storytelling you've done, you're going to make them mad, and then you're in trouble.
Well, that's the other thing, but
right. So,
which means they'll turn over and start watching Doom Patrol.
They might,
or Harley Quinn, which a Harley Quinn series.
I agree. I'm actually enjoying Titans also, but anyway.
Well, that makes one of us.
No, it's not perfect, but and I don't like how they did Raven, but season 2 I thought's better than 1. But anyway, that's beside the point.
They're missing a whole bunch of characters.
I know they are, and I'm hopeful they'll be able to bring them in, Keith. But
they better bring in Speedy. They better. I
love Speedy.
Season 3 was supposed to.
They've already killed Aqualad, which is crazy.
He said he thought season 3 was supposed to bring in Speedy.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
There's a lot of things that are supposed to happen.
That's true. The other thing, I was just happy when they added Wonder Girl. That's my favorite character. I'll just leave it there. All right. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention was, did you guys see? First, Marvel put out the comic book cover for Amazing Spider-Man, I think number 34 for 64. I'm sorry, 64 for Volume 5, and it was just had this missing image and talked about the new costume, and then like 2 days later put out the picture of the actual new costume, and I thought, why that's not a long enough tease? Just
first of all, lazy.
Okay. What part of inviting in YA authors to run a comic book company when none of these people are actually fans of the characters they're supposed to be overseeing?
Right.
This is what happens. This is what the entire comic book industry has become.
Professor,
DC is going to suffer.
Do you have a picture of it?
I can definitely put a picture up. Yes, I can.
Put a picture of it. Because
let
me all talk about this.
Yeah.
This is what happens. Again, let's going back to my theme. This is what happens when you have non-fans oversee stuff that they're not fans of.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's.
I mean, look, I get it. I do. I know that there are some people that work at Lucasfilm that are completely ticked off because Luke Skywalker was in The Mandalorian. Yeah, I said it. What?
But no, you're not wrong. And you redeemed him.
There is nothing to redeem. There's nothing to redeem.
Well, you redeemed what episode 8 did.
The character, and they did stuff with him, and that led us to Jake. I don't want to do Jake again, and I, like Jon Favreau, want to see something better for Luke Skywalker, not Jake. I'm not talking about Jake.
I agree with you. Yeah. Do you want here? So, Professor, you're the huge. I mean, I don't know who's a bigger Spider-Man fan, me or you, but I think it's you.
We're close there. We're close.
Barely. What do you think of this? Because
Okay, so here's, and I said this in the article that I wrote about it. It's an odd looking costume. Here's the thing I know about Spider-Man costumes: they always go back to the original red and blue.
I think
they will have this costume for however long. I mean, you have the black and silver costume, which is iconic.
Right.
we associate with Venom, but that was Spider-Man's costume first. That lasted probably the longest of any other costume change. You've got tons of other costumes he's gone to and always come back. I mean, you got the Iron Spider, which is not a bad costume, but still, it's not the iconic one. But it's,
This
I don't
one
know.
is boring.
I don't know. The reason.
Wait, guys. I think the thing that you're missing is, and again, forgive me when I say this. The three of us here, it's not about us.
It's not about us.
No, I'm serious. We are, as Kathleen Kennedy would say, we are well outside the target group and audience for what this costume is. Because
I know.
This costume is really for all the people that dropped all that money playing the Spider-Man video games.
Yeah.
This is exactly who that's for.
But this is not in the Spider-Man video games, is it? I mean, I've played the video game. I've not played the second one yet, but
yeah, but it will be. Trust me.
Yeah.
This
I'm sure
it will be.
The thing is yes, there's always going to be costumes, and Keith's right. It's about marketing. It's about product,
and
it's
that's
about merchandise and video games. If you can have 5 different outfits that Spider-Man can be in for a video game instead of just one, it's cooler. The kids like it. It's this different skin, and you can I'm this Spider-Man and I'm this Spider-Man and all
right.
that stuff. I understand that. I'm a grandmother. I get it. I raised kids. I have, but I find this one boring. It's not an interesting costume. If you're going to change it, I prefer the original. I do like I like the black and silver one. I
like this Fantastic Four one.
Right?
The one with the bag over his head, or the the white one from the Freedom Foundation, Fantastic
Foundation, but I also
the white one
with the bag over his head too. But
the bag over his head's classic,
which also is in the video game.
Right. This one here, I find it boring.
It reminds me of the costume he wore a couple years ago when they tried to make him the new Tony Stark, where supposedly Parker Industries blew up and had all this money, and because you've got the kind of the electric lines there, you got the glowing eyes. So to me, they've done something very similar before. Supposedly there's a reason why he's going with this color change. That I will find interesting. I'm looking forward to reading the why we're doing this, and then maybe I'm okay with it.
I don't hate the white and I don't hate the blue.
You hate the orange.
I hate the orange with them. I do.
Yeah.
And
the glowing eyes.
The glowing eyes, I don't actually. I think if they tie it into the story right, it will be fine. I don't like the colors together.
Yeah.
As a graphic designer, it's too on point to complementary colors. It's one of those things that you learn. Orange and blue go together. That's like what you learn in kindergarten and first grade. It's not interesting. It doesn't make me go, oh, why is he doing this?
Right.
That's what it should make me do as a Spider-Man fan. It should make me ask why he changed this. It just looks like if I had my 6-year-old granddaughter color Spider-Man, and her favorite color is blue, and then she knows that orange goes with blue because she's in kindergarten and they teach you in kindergarten. It's not about. It's the classic Spider-Man shape. They haven't changed the shape as much, like that.
Right.
It's literally just very boring. And when they talked about the new Spider-Man outfit, I will always love the original, but I do get excited when they do change things up a little bit. This one does not.
Right.
I feel like they could have done more.
I agree. I looked at it and went, again, underwhelmed, especially with you're trying to hold my attention, and you think I can only hold my attention for 2 days, and then you reveal this, and I'm like,
well,
was that what we waited for?
To be fair, what Keith said was right. We are not the target demographic for this.
Yeah.
And the target demographic for this are kids who are watching TikTok who have the attention span of 5 seconds.
That may be true. All I can say is
2 days to them is like a year. Have you ever seen like, I know you guys have. You guys are parents, you guys have seen this, but like the kids now, and they're like watching something, and you ask them to watch something on the TV, not from their phone, and it's like something they're interested in, and like 5 seconds later, they're like back to their phone. Yeah, that was cool. Like it's that the 2 days to them is like a lifetime.
that's true.
I tried to explain this to my granddaughters, like when I saw them last, that they were talking about rewinding their show, or, oh, well, we skipped that episode and we're going to go back to it. And I'm like, when I was in school, when I was your age, if you missed an episode, you had to wait till summer and hope to God you caught a rerun.
Right. If they actually rerun it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't have that concept. So 2 days is a lifetime to them. So, but it didn't build it up enough. They didn't build it up.
No, there was no build
up. Now
up.
I know why. There's not a lot to build up.
At least don't do that, and then don't show it to me for a couple months. So then I'm actually looking forward to seeing what it is.
Yes.
Then I can be disappointed. Do you guys?
No, that might have made it better. Like I know that wouldn't have made the design better, but that might have made it a little bit better if they would have made us wait longer.
And then I would have been like, okay, well, tell me why.
I didn't see that one coming. I didn't see that color coming. But because they released it so quickly, and the design is so elementary.
Right.
It's the best way to describe it. It is literally like elementary school kids pick the colors.
Maybe they did.
Millions of colors that they could have chosen. There literally are, like and it's that orange and that blue. There are very primary orange or secondary orange and primary blue. And it's boring. I'm sorry. I can't. The artist in me is like, put them in teal and like neon orange or something. Like anything would have been surprising compared to blue and orange.
I don't disagree. Do you guys remember when the black costume hit? Because nobody knew it was coming. You just went to get it on the stage. You're like, why the heck is Spider-Man wearing black?
Yes.
I got to read this and see. And
well, that was introduced in Contest of Champions, wasn't it?
No, because it was post Contest of Champions. He was still in the red and blue there. It is actually from Secret Wars, issue number 7. But we don't see that for 6 months in what happens in Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Because they introduce with Secret Wars, he's only gone for like a day in real time. And so when he pops back in, he's wearing the new costume. It's doing all these cool things. And you don't know the history of why until you read the Secret Wars where he gets the costume in issue 7.
Right.
Or 8. I think it's 7. So it just basically ended up on the stands. One month he's in the normal costume. Next month it's a black and silver costume. Where did this come from? And he keeps mentioning the Civil War, the Secret War. What happened there? I mean, that right there caused me to buy that whole series.
Yeah.
Secret Wars I purchased because I wanted to find out what happened to Spider-Man's costume. Now I enjoyed it. I love that series. But anyway, I just wanted to see what you guys thought because I went. It's interesting. It's news, but it struck me funny that they would go to all of that time to make it to where it's grayed out. You can't see the costume, and then you reveal it so quick.
Yeah, no, that's just the generation that they're trying to get. Seriously, it's just because whereas when we were kids, if they teased us about that, they could let us go for a month or two, and we would be like, "Do you know what Spider-Man's costume is going to be?" Kids don't have a span enough to hold that thought. And
it's like kids chasing after the ice cream man. Seriously, I mean they get focused. Right. I got to catch the ice cream man. You know.
And then when they catch him, they end up with blue and orange. No, I'm sorry. Like, there are so many different choices that they could have made. The blue, I wouldn't have minded if they would have put a purple instead of the orange. Like a really cool, like magenta-ish purple, like would have been better than the orange. If they would have left the orange, they could have picked something else for the blue. It was just very much like it reminded me of the color wheel, and I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
If you're gonna do something new and exciting, do something new and exciting.
What?
Do something done in kindergarten.
That's strange.
What?
Just that you don't want to do something that you would have done in kindergarten. I don't know. That's.
I mean, I don't do anything. I'm trying to think. No. I don't even skip anymore. I forgot how to skip.
What?
You guys no, this is bad. Okay. so about 2.5 years ago, we were watching something and they were skipping. And I looked over at Dakota and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I know how to skip anymore. And I couldn't skip for the life of me. My grandkids had.
Were you a good skipper before?
When I was little, yeah. Everybody skipped when they were little. And then when you get old, you just don't skip anymore because it's weird to walk with a hop. It's like.
It's just kind of fun. I mean, now I want to go do that. You have made me want to go out and start skipping around now.
Oh my God. I've done it. And it's a lot of fun. The only problem is I literally, for like 3 weeks, couldn't remember how to do it. And my granddaughters came over and they were like skipping. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that. And they're like, we'll show you. And it took me I am not coordinated the same way. My mind goes, don't hop. Don't hop.
Don't hop, yeah.
Yeah, so see, I don't do things that I did in kindergarten. Either should the Spider-Man people.
Well,
She's got a point.
That's true. Yeah. So, I would have even been happy with this. The Scarlet Spider look. Bring it back if you're going to do that.
Oh my God. Yes.
That's still better than what they did.
Yeah, well, that's already in the video game, though. So
you're right. It is.
That's what it is. They had to find something that wasn't in the video game that would be unique enough where people would be like, oh, I want that one. Who knows? They might sell it as an add-on. Like you can buy the.
They will.
Yeah.
What the first
paying for
Spider-Man
that.
video game has something on the order of like 15, 18 costumes. And so as time goes on, you can sell downloadable content, which might include other costumes.
Yep. Nope. It's the whole buying skins for Fortnite kind of thing. That's exactly what it is. And the problem is I think we're going to see way more of this going forward just because of who they're trying to get. Like, I feel like they're going to change out a lot of things. I just wish the artists would put a little bit more effort into the color choices or something if they're going to want adults to be as engaged and as wanting these things, because we do buy the video games as well. And we play the video games as well. But I'm not going to spend like an extra $4.99 or whatever they're going to charge for this costume. I'll just stick with the other ones. Like
exactly.
So if you want, and we're the ones with the money.
And that's true. Well, and when my son, who's 11, says, I want to buy this, no, not that.
Right. Not necessarily me, because I don't have money, but most adults are the ones with the money. So you should try
compared to the kids.
Pleasing to us as well.
Right. Do something that pleases both. Yes.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, that's really all I wanted to talk about for tonight. We're at 1:48, so we always go over. But anyway, so
we're
we'll
bad at the whole hour thing. I don't even know.
I know. Yeah, we're trying. We're doing our best.
Hey, you guys,
that's all we can do.
Me tomorrow.
I will be watching tomorrow. Now I won't be able to watch live, but
no, it's not going to be live. Nope, we already filmed it.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. No, because I work tomorrow. But I've got the first 2 episodes filmed, and then I have 2 more that I've got to film. But Spoo and I, for Scallywag Productions, he's starting to do 5 shows a week again. And 2 days of that, you'll see my face next to him. I'm sorry for that.
Well, no. That's the only reason that we'll be able to watch him. It's like, man. All right. Well, at least we get to see AJ, so we're all right. 2 days a week, we'll watch AJ.
So yeah, check out Scallywag Productions on YouTube because he's going to be doing 5 shows a week. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays is a series of enigmatic events. I do not say that on camera. He does because I mess it up so bad. But we're basically going to talk about unsolved mysteries, cryptids, anything that has like some kind of mystery behind it. I'm going to talk about some mythology and all of that. But we have 2 episodes this week, so that's exciting. There's 4 episodes. The first 4 episodes are a mini series because we started digging into the one, and then we found the second one, and then we found a third case that was very similar to the first 2, and then I decided to go sleuthing and ended up on like the KGB website and the NASA website and FBI website and something that said Interpol. And
who are you again? I have no idea who she is. I don't know her.
Wait. Here's the weird part. When I ended up on the KGB website, like I screenshotted what I found so we could use it for the stuff. And then I wanted to go back and read some more. And it was not in my history on my phone. And I can't find the website anymore.
Wow. Would you like to play a game?
Because of our show.
Look. So basically, it's the S&M show, the Scully and Moldering show.
Be careful how you say that, okay? Because that's a whole different show.
That's the kind of show I want to be on. No. So
crack that whip.
Wow. If you only knew. I'm not that interesting. But no, yeah, come check us out like on that. I'm gonna be doing that.
Sure we'll check you out, yeah.
Not the kind of show they just talked about, but like the one
$4.99 a minute.
Oh my god. Remember the commercials on at late night? My parents would be like, what are you watching? It's a commercial. I'm sorry.
We want to talk to you.
I wonder how
Mine was the whole Madame Cleo thing. It's like,
oh yeah. Huh.
We're so aging ourselves, and people who are younger than us are going, what are they even talking about?
Because they're saying
Madame
what is this thing called a commercial? Oh,
yeah, exactly. What's a commercial?
That's off of YouTube.
Right.
It's not the same thing. You can skip those. But yeah, go check us out on Scallywag Productions on YouTube. He's also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. He does a collectible of the day. We also have our friends over at the Nerd Informants. Be sure to go give them a like and subscribe. And that is Josh and Tim over at Nerd Informants on YouTube and Facebook. They also have a podcast they do. And of course, Mr. Keith joined us today. And he's
baby.
Seen on he can be seen on Pop Culture Minefield. Look at that.
That looks like an 80s sitcom right there. Mr. Keith.
He was just like, yeah, I looked up and I thought he froze, and I was like, no, he's just doing that. But Keith and Gary over at Pop Culture Minefield on YouTube, they talk about all kinds of things. They are not as PG or PG-13 like we are, but they are funny and insightful, and you'll learn a lot of stuff by watching them. I
think we're trying to finish off our 80s.
Oh, yes.
Stuff that we're doing. We've been recording those. Look, I can't tell you when that stuff will be posted, but we have been going through it. So
yeah,
we're into the 80s.
You guys are doing a great job on that. That is such a great time period and such fun movies to go over. It is. I'm such an 80s kid.
The professor loves the 80s. He's like always bragging about the 80s, I swear.
I have to admit, the 80s were fun.
Yeah.
All right. And be sure to check us out over at GeekyKOOL.com. We have our own website where you'll see articles posted from all kinds of people. Wow. I surround myself by the most amazing nerdy men. It's just wonderfulness. But we're also on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. You can see this and other of our live shows are also over there on our YouTube site. Remember, when you go see our sites or our friends' sites, to be sure to hit like, subscribe, share, comment. Let us know what you're thinking, because we really like that. We also don't know if we're doing a good job if you guys don't do those things. So, it helps boost our confidence.
Right.
Some of us need it more than others.
And it tells us what you may want to hear more of. So if you're giving us a lot of likes on something, we know we need to go back to that subject. So bring on those certain guests that are really popular.
Yeah. Let us know. Let us know if there's unless it's me. Don't say anything bad about me.
Well,
I can't take it.
I don't know why anybody would want to, because you are the star. You're the queen of geekness. You are the ace of the show.
I'm the geeky girlness in this world.
You are, and we need that.
It is just look, it's so much fun being with you guys, and I
love having you.
That you guys put out, and just how much fun, and your willingness to just let me just verbally wander all over the place sometimes.
You know what? We love that. It is.
We love the journey. It's like
we do.
It's like opening up a book that you've never read before, Keith. I never know where you're going to take me, but I know that the end is going to be amazing. Okay.
And it's always going to loop around somehow. It's the there and back again.
Yes, it's beautifulfulness.
Yeah, just call me Bilbo.
Exactly.
Next time he's on, he's going to be Mr. Keith Bilbo. Nobody will get it unless they watch this one.
All I can say is now I really want to see how much it would cost to get the rights to the Bilbo Baggins song from Leonard Nimoy to play. Bilbo Baggins.
Oh my God. Wow.
Right?
Oh my goodness.
If we could play that as your intro, that would just be perfect. We would have you blocked out, and now Bilbo Baggins himself, Mr. Keith.
Thank you very much.
That's not Bilbo.
Bilbo Elvis.
Bilbo or Elvis. Oh
Bilbo left the building.
Well, I needed this. I thank you guys for making me laugh. I really needed that tonight, and I hope whoever's watching us, be silly craziness. Hope you didn't get too bored with us, but but we love you guys too. So check us out. Be sure to let us know what you like. And thanks, Professor. Thanks, Mr. Keith.
All right, stay geeky, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week, back on Tuesday.
Yep.
See you.